Today, Nolly Elementary would like to recognize all of our October Leaders of the Month. We are so proud of these students for their outstanding leadership in the classroom, playground, lunchroom, and also always displaying the 7 habits here at Nolly School. Today, we will recognize each student in each grade level and tell you a little something about them. I also have Natalie and Riker who are going to help me today. Okay, starting off in kindergarten, in Mrs. Rankin's room, we have Avery Schaffner. Avery synergizes. Avery is a smiley, happy girl. Mrs. Rankin said, I am so proud of her transition to Nolly School. She has made several friends and is kind to all. We also have Quinn McConnell in Mrs. Rankin's room. Quinn puts first things first. Quinn is a ray of sunshine. She is always wearing a smile on her face. She works hard and is a leader to her peers. She raises her hand and is an example to all.
In Mrs. Craig's class, we have Veda Phillips. Veda is proactive and puts first things first. Veda has been a wonderful example in our room. She has fabulous self-control and works hard every day to listen, do her best, and grow her brain. I'm so proud of you, Veda.
From Mrs. Parton's class, we have Nico Hessen. Nico is proactive. Wow, I am so proud of Nico. He is kind, thoughtful, and is a hard worker. When things are hard, he is positive and works even when harder until he understands you are doing great, Nico. We also have Ava Coleman in Mrs. Parton's class. She puts first things first. Ava is one special little girl. She is helpful, thoughtful, and is always doing her best work. She lights up our classroom with her smile and positive attitude.
Mrs. Zukowski's class, we have Callie Dingy. She is proactive. Callie always puts forth excellent effort and chooses kindness in our kindergarten class. Keep up the great work.
Also in Mrs. Zukowski's class, we have Cooper McGraw. Cooper demonstrates all 7 habits. Mrs. Zukowski said Cooper demonstrates all of the 7 habits while he's at Nolly School. His enthusiasm and work ethic will take him far in life. Great job, Coop. In first grade, in Mrs. Fiesler's class, we have Chase YAROS. Chase thinks win-win. Mrs. Fiesler said one of our Zero Hero prizes came up short and one student didn't get one. Chase gave his away to that friend. Now they can take turns with it. Thanks for thinking win-win, Chase. We also have Henley Carr in Mrs. Fiesler's class, who is proactive. Kenley always tries to be a top quality leader with good choices, and we love having her as a proactive role model. Way to go, Henley.
In Mrs. Bowser's class, we have KENZIE VOROS. She puts first things first. KENZIE is a quiet leader in our classroom this year. She always completes all of her assignments before going to recess and puts forth her best effort.
Also in Mrs. Bowser's class, we have Shane Eisman. Shane is being proactive.
Shane always follows the teacher's directions and helps his classmates. He helps the teacher clean up the classroom at the end of each day without being asked.
Way to go, Shane.
In Mrs. Wechsel's class, we have EZRA TRUETT. He is proactive. Ezra comes to school each day proud and ready to learn. Keep up the awesome effort and hard work in 4th grade. And Reagan White, also in Mrs. Wechsel's class, puts first things first. Reagan always puts forth the extra effort to make sure her work is neatly done. She takes pride in her work. I'm so proud of you, Reagan.
This is Beard's class. We have Mackenzie Knox. She puts first things first.
Mackenzie is always making sure she puts first things first by always doing her best work in class. Mrs. Beard said, I am so proud of her for all of her hard work this year. We also have Sawyer McConnell, who is
proactive and puts first things first.
Sawyer shows his leadership by always working hard and offering to help when needed. Way to go, Sawyer.
Mrs. Van Dolsten's class, we have Piper Jellison. She puts first things first. Piper is such a hard worker, and I am proud of her great effort.
Good job, Piper. Also in Mrs. Van Dorsten's room, we have ERIK Hampton.
ERIK is energized. ERIK gets along with everyone and is kind and respectful.
All right, way to synergize, ERIK.
In Mrs. Slimack's class, we have Corey Cash. She is proactive and puts first things first. Corey is a proactive girl who takes charge of her learning. I can always count on her to do her best work and ask for help when needed.
We also have Levi McGraw in Mrs. Slimack's class.
Levi thinks win-win. Levi is a standout leader in second grade. He works hard and always keeps a positive attitude. Keep up the great work, Levi McGraw. In Mrs. Grandin's class, we have Grace Carr. She seeks first to understand.
Okay, Mrs. Grandin said, I am so proud of Grace Carr. Grace is always so quick to talk to her classmates when there is a problem. She doesn't get angry. She doesn't tell a teacher. She just tries her best to listen and understand. Also in Mrs. Grandin's class, we have Aria Burkhart. Aria is
Proactive.
Aria was trying hard to save up her tickets to earn a prize. She found a ticket and was honest and turned it in to Mrs. Grandin. Mrs. Grandin gave it to her the next day because no one claimed it. Aria examined the ticket very carefully and noticed a name on it. She could have kept the ticket, but instead she turned it in to Mrs. Grandin a second time. Way to be honest, Aria.
First in Mrs. Truax, we have Timmy Strickland. Timmy is proactive.
Mrs. Truax said Timmy is a very responsible second grade student. He takes initiative and always has a positive attitude. Keep it up, Timmy. Also in Mrs. Truax's class, we have Caroline Tipton. Caroline
Puts first things first.
Caroline is very organized, spends her time on things that are the most important, and always has a positive attitude. Keep it up, Caroline.
In Mrs. Bailey's class, we have Jacob Reese. He is proactive and begins with the end in mind. Jacob has a can-do attitude. He comes in every day ready to learn and is prepared for each lesson. Way to be a better leader, Jacob.
Also in Mrs. Braley's class, we have Roland Zapp, who puts first things first. Roland has been working hard on staying organized. He has been focused on the task he needs to complete and not on distractions of other things. He is learning what is important, and we are all proud of him for putting first things first.
First in Mrs. Esterly's class, we have Cindy Swain. Sydney puts first things first.
Sydney sets a great example for kids every day. She works hard, stays on track, and always puts first things first. Great job, Sydney. We also have in Mrs. Esterly's class,
King Cash. King is proactive.
Mrs. Esterly said Kane has been getting in the habit of trying to finish his homework during bus time. He also is the first person to help someone, even when no one else is looking. Keep it up, Kane. Okay, Piper Dingy is in third grade, and she received 2 nominations. Her first one was from Mrs. Millville. Mrs. Millville said Piper begins with the end in mind. She said Piper is demonstrating beginning with the end in mind by taking on extra reading, tutoring, and homework. She has such a positive attitude towards learning. Mrs. Millville is very proud of Piper. Good job, Piper.
Piper is proactive, brings with the end in mind, puts first things first.
Okay, Piper is such a hard worker. If there is work to be done, she really gets to it straight away. Missing work gets turned in as soon as possible. Afterward, if there is time to spare, Piper sharpens the saw. Way to go, Piper. Also, Mr. Straub's class, we have
Carter Pless
Carter Pless.
seeks first to understand, puts first things first.
All right. Carter works hard to understand his work and get what is being asked. Once he has it figured out, he gets to work. He really puts forth great effort into his work. Keep it up, Carter.
Mrs. Stats in this class we have
Camden VOROS.
He puts first things first. This is an easy leader to choose. Canyon has putting first things first from day one. I can always count on him to be a great role model for our friends in class. He listens well, follow the rules, and always know what we're doing.
Good job, Camden VOROS. We also have Paisley Fanning in Mrs. Stassnis's class. Paisley thinks win-win. Mrs. Stassnis said, I love to hear Paisley's ideas in class. She is very creative and has a lot of empathy towards other students. Keep being kind, Paisley. Okay, moving on to 4th grade.
In Mrs. Tote's class, we got Brooklyn Snell. She puts first things first.
Okay, Brooklyn always puts first things first. She has settled into 4th grade very well, being ready to go every single day. Great job, Brooklyn. Also in Mrs. Toe's class, we have
Liam Adkins. Liam is proactive.
Mrs. Toe said Liam is doing a great job in 4th grade. Knowing he was going on vacation, Liam got all his work and had everything ready upon his return. Way to be proactive, Liam.
This Oaks class, we have Hannah Carr, and she is proactive.
Hannah has a can-do attitude. She works hard on her assignments and always is quick to offer help around the classroom. She is a great leader. Also in Mrs. Oaks' class, we have
Gavin Lysick. Gavin puts first things first.
Okay, Gavin Lysick spends time on things that are most important. He is organized and has a great sense of responsibility. Gavin is an excellent role model.
First in Mrs. Manson's class, we have Hawk Emery. Hawk puts first things first.
Hawk was absent and came back the next day and did any of his missed work all on his own. Hawk is a real leader. Okay, for Mrs. Gardner and Mrs. Hansel, we have Jovan Hernjack. Jovan
seeks first to understand.
Mrs. Gardner and Mrs. Hansel said Jovan has had a fantastic start to 4th grade. He comes to school with a positive learning attitude. If he gets frustrated, he keeps trying to succeed. Keep working hard, Jovan. You're doing a great job. We also have Ace Smith. Ace
brings with the end in mind.
Yes, Ace begins with the end in mind. Ace has been working very hard to improve his spelling grade. He often does extra practice at home through the week. His spelling grade has improved because of his hard work. Way to go, Ace. That's a great learning attitude. Also nominated by Mrs. Millville, we have Jeremiah Jones, who's in 4th grade. Jeremiah begins with the end in mind. Mrs. Millville said Jeremiah has a positive attitude towards learning. He has decided that he will put in extra time and effort to become a better reader. Even his friends are noticing how much better he is reading and with spelling. Mrs. Millville is very proud of Jeremiah. Way to go, Jeremiah. Congratulations to all of the Nolly Leaders of the Month. The entire staff here at Nolly is so proud of you. Please keep up the great work and your outstanding leadership. Way to go.